Hello all my dear students, and I welcome you all to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes. I am your educator Amit Ajmani. Now in this class students we will be continuing up article writing. In the previous class we have completed the details about what is an article, how effectively an article should be written. And as we have mentioned that we'll be taking up few more examples. So in this class we will be doing the same. So let us try to relate what all are the type of questions that we need to prepare for. In the first question, we are being asked to read the following articles and provide a suitable title. So the articles are already given to us and we just need to go through the article. We need to understand the central idea and the theme of the article, and accordingly we need to provide a suitable title. So this exercise is to make sure that after reading a particular passage or an article, are you able to comprehend what is the main idea being talked about in the article. So let us read the article first. The article says that stocks related to the consumption theme have taken a severe beating ever since the Prime Minister announced the demonetization of rupees 500 and rupees 1000 notes on 8th November. So the very first line discusses about two things. One is the demonetization done by the Honorable Prime Minister, and importantly the stocks which have taken a severe beating, and those stocks are of the consumption theme. Let us study further. The Nifty India Consumption Index has shrunk 11.4%. Some stocks have slipped up to 21%. The fear that the demonetization drive would put a leash on high ticket spending by consumers has spooked sentiments. So again, the effect of demonetization on the sentiments, and just an example how much the stocks or the index have fallen down. While the current outlook is bleak, analysts say this sell-off provides a good opportunity for investors to enter certain stocks as the consumption story remains on a solid footing. The sell-off in the consumer basket is backed by reason. Consumer sentiment soared after the government sucked out liquidity from the system by removing 500 and rupees 1000 notes from circulation. So this is being talked as an opportunity for investors to come into the market. Let's study further. People face an uphill task managing their liquidity position with the limited stock of lower denomination notes in circulation and difficulty in transacting with the new rupees 2000 notes. For most, the focus in the near future will be on preserving cash, and planned discretionary spending will be put on the back burner. So this is the problem faced by the people due to demonetization. In the near term, discretionary spending and sectors reliant on the cash economy will be affected. The rural segment, where most transactions are in cash, will take the biggest hit. This will dent large ticket sales of two-wheelers, passenger vehicles, and consumer durables. Rural and semi-urban markets can see a significant cut in discretionary spend. So this is the article all about. and what we can make out is the demonetization and its effect on the stock market, providing an opportunity and also the problems faced by the people. So after reading this, what exactly are the possible titles that come into your mind? Now the two titles as per the book are Consumption Stocks Offer Good Buying Opportunity Post Demonetization, or the relevant title could also be Demonetization and its Effects on Consumption Stocks. Or you can also write Demonetization and its Aftermaths, or Demonetization dash Consumption Stocks Most Hit. So these are the various titles we can offer for this article, and in this title we need to relate and specify these two things specifically: consumption stocks and demonetization. You can see in both the titles we have included these two because these two are the most talked about in this article. Fine. Let us try to relate one more example. In this also, we need to provide a suitable title. So let us try to read the whole article first. Then accordingly, we will see what the article is talking about and what is the central idea it is conveying. And according to that central idea, what should be the suitable title. Let us start up with the article. Bangalore real estate brokers in Karnataka hit by slowdown and demonetization fear that the new draft State Real Estate Regulator Act, that is RERA, will make their business unviable, with some even apprehending the prospect of a closure. So the passage starts with the effect on the real estate brokers because of this new act RERA. The government expects an agency to pay a proposed registration fee of rupees 5 lakh in the city and rupees 2.5 lakh in rural areas in the new state RERA rule. Once again, the new RERA rule and what all is included. Let us read further. Currently, 80% are individual agents, while just 20% work with agencies in the city. The registration fee set by the regulatory authority in Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh is rupees 10,000, which is much more affordable in the light of the relatively lower income levels of real estate agents. So this is the first problem which these small individual agents are going to face. The agents work for a mere 2% commission on the consideration value. The high cost of operations and the long gestation period in real estate transactions diminish the real returns. Given this, it is unviable to expect a real estate agent to pay rupees 5 lakh as registration fee, said Farooq Mohammed, CMD Silverline Group, a real estate developer and a broking company. So this paragraph is talking about the increased amount of registration fee that has to be paid by the individual agents, which is a problem which is much more and which the agents will not be able to do. Coming to the next paragraph, the Bangalore Realtors Association of India, that is BRAI, has expressed its reservations on the proposed rules, the first being registration fee and the other is the issue of penalties for default by developers. Such measures will be a setback for the trade, said Ayub Khan, owner Apex Estates and Properties, a real estate brokerage firm in Bangalore. So, this whole paragraph is dealing with all the problems which are faced by the real estate people because of this new rule RERA. Fine. So now, after reading this passage, we are able to relate that real estate people are involved, that there are certain problems faced by them, and that is because of this new RERA Act. Fine. The possible titles may be: number one, major problems faced by real estate brokers. Or we can also write a title: real estate brokers hit by high agency fees. Apart from these, we can also relate our title in which we will include this word RERA. RERA, a new setback for the real estate brokers. Real estate brokers hit by new RERA. Fine. So these could be the possible titles. You may also think about any other depending upon which suits this particular article. Fine. So these are the examples where the articles were given to us and we need to supply them with suitable titles. Next type of question that mainly comes to you is that you will be given a certain topic and you need to write article on that topic in approximately 500 words. Now the four topics which are given as an example as per your book, let us try to focus on them. The first topic is card payment on a high after demonetization, because digital payments are promoted. Cash is actually being driven away from the system. So card payment, digital payments, they are on a high. The second topic is Mumbai no longer India's economic capital. Mumbai has always been considered as the economic capital of our country, but this topic deals with the fact that Mumbai now is no longer India's economic capital because that place, that position has been taken by Delhi now. The third topic on which we are asked to write an article is unemployment, an obstacle in the country's economic growth. And fourth topic is phishing. As in the computers, internet, all these phishing scams we hear every now and then. Now, let us take up each topic one by one. The first topic is card payment on a high after demonetization. You need to relate what exactly are the key points, the main heads and the subheads, the main detail and the secondary supporting detail that you are going to include in this. Let us try to relate a few points which are going to help you write this particular article. The title as it is given to us, card payment on a high after demonetization. So first of all, we need to relate demonetization. What is demonetization? When it was done and what exactly is demonetization including of. So we need to specify that on November 8th, 2016, government announced discontinuation of rupees 500 and rupees 1000 notes. Now after making the base for demonetization, now we'll be coming to the other sources of transactions that we need to explain. The move forced people to use options such as internet banking, mobile banking, credit and debit cards, mobile wallets, and other prepaid payment instruments. Now we'll be focusing on our card payments and digital transactions, and they are on a high, so we need to give certain statistical values to relate how high, how much increase they have been after this demonetization. Let us try to relate how to express. Digital transactions have grown by 400 to 1000%, and this figure does not include transactions done through Master and Visa cards. Now, if the card payment is on a high, so there must be many people who would not have been able to cope up with the situation. So for that, you need to give a few suggestions also. For example, people to be educated about digital payments through websites and television. Increase transactions on e-wallets. Then you are giving few more examples and statistics that volume of transactions using RuPay card has increased from 3.85 lakh per day to 16 lakh per day. Now these figures are given to us as per the book, but if we are not aware of these figures, we can just generally write that volume of transactions using RuPay card has increased tremendously. Right, this tremendously word is sufficient to convey the idea what you are actually trying to give. Next point that may be added is these digital transactions will ensure money comes into the system. What is the purpose why demonetization is done? All transactions or money will be accountable. They will generate tax, thus developing the country's economy. And with this money, the government will develop better welfare plans when money will be deposited in banks. So these are the various objectives of demonetization. You also include the curbing of the black money, right? The black money word you can use because has been indirectly done by using this line to ensure money coming into the system, means the money which is not in the system, that is black money. Fine. So these are a few highlighting points. Clear? You need to elaborate these. Just try to think about the chronological order in which you will be arranging these points. Firstly, simply you can relate about demonetization. Then you can relate about how demonetization has affected and increased the card payments. You then try to relate a bit that there may be certain problems faced by people, and you may also give a few suggestions. Then in the end you may conclude by saying that this is a good step taken by the government because of all these reasons. So you need to elaborate upon the purpose of doing demonetization by the government. Got it? So this is how you can relate the first one. Let's talk about the second one now. Mumbai, no longer India's economic capital. This is the topic on which we have to dwell and write an article. So first of all, if we are talking about Mumbai no longer India's economic capital, so initially we need to form a base regarding the past situation in which Mumbai always had been at the top position. Why and how? Now we have to compare that its position has been taken over by whom, why and how. This is what our article needs to be on. Let us see. Mumbai preserves the charm of an open, dynamic urban space owing to a preferential decision making on investment. Delhi appears to have been surging ahead of Mumbai. Mumbai has ceded its position as economic capital of India to Delhi. The Oxford Economics forecast for 2030 shows that Delhi is predicted to be at the 11th spot, Mumbai will be 14th. These are a few statistics that you may opt and give. Delhi has outpaced Mumbai post liberalization in physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. Since Delhi is the capital, businesses want to be closer to it for clearances. The availability of infrastructure facilities affect the cost, thus attracting the businesses. High cost of land and labor in Mumbai is unfavorable to business and does not offer suitable inducements to attract investment, domestic and foreign. So these are a few points on which you need to dwell upon. Importantly, what are the basic things you need to relate is Mumbai has been the economic capital of India till now, but post liberalization, Delhi has outpaced Mumbai. In this, we have to highlight the various merits and advantages of Delhi, why it has been selected as a choice by the businessmen, and we need to relate in comparison why now Mumbai is no longer that particularly favorable place where the businesses need to work or where they are willing to work. So this is the difference in comparison that we have to make in order to prove the point that why Mumbai is lagging behind and why Delhi is preferred. Got it? So this is the second article that we can reproduce by these points. The next article is on unemployment, an obstacle in the country's economic growth. Unemployment. Now, this particular topic we have been writing for I think past many years. One of the very important and very common topics, unemployment and poverty, all is a vicious circle related to each other. So this is what we are going to consider while writing this article. We need to relate what are the various reasons of unemployment. We need to relate what are the harmful impacts because of this unemployment, and obviously we need to provide with some suggestions how it can be worked upon. So let us see a few key points that will help you in writing this article. The world economy is facing two major challenges: unemployment and poverty. Financial crisis caused by unemployment leads to an overall purchasing power resulting in poverty, followed by an increasing burden of debt. These are generalized statements. Now we come to our country. In India, the problems of underemployment, unemployment, and poverty have always been the main hindrances to economic development. Another colossal problem is the large population. So population, unemployment, poverty and illiteracy. These four things are and have always been the vicious circle in which India has always been trapped. I repeat, unemployment, overpopulation, illiteracy and poverty. You can start from anywhere, go to anywhere. It is just a circle because we have got a large population, because of which there is illiteracy. Because of this illiteracy, there is unemployment. Because of this unemployment, there is poverty. Because of poverty, there is illiteracy. Because of illiteracy, we are not aware and our population is increasing. Because population is more, therefore we are poor, because the resources are not being able to be distributed equally, and because we are having overpopulation, that is why it's difficult to create employment for everyone. So it is just a vicious circle. These four things you can include anywhere whenever any particular article comes of any of these four topics, right? Now, a critical aspect is the regional disparity. Unemployment, you need to relate a few causes. Mass migration from rural to urban regions is adding to the problems of the unemployment and poverty. So these are the causes. Suggestions: economic reforms, changes in the industrial policy, and better utilization of available resources will reduce the problem. So these are the suggestions that you can include. The government must initiate long-term measures for poverty alleviation. Again, the solutions and suggestions that you are providing from your own side. Got it? So this is about unemployment, and I think it's comparatively an easier topic. You may write on unemployment so many things to include, so many statistics, so many data, so many examples, comparison about past and present, everything you can do. Clear? So I hope you will be able to write an article on this unemployment. The next topic is phishing. Now this phishing is important because you people as students don't have much details about it, right? So if it would have come as a surprise in the examination, you would have faced problems. But now, since it is given as an exercise question, now because you are given the various points, I want you people to not only understand these points but also learn these points, because there will be few points which you are unaware of. Let us try to relate what are the key points that may be included, and that they are going to assist you in writing an article about phishing. First of all, you need to start up with what exactly is phishing. You need to elaborate it. So phishing is a cyber crime in which a target or targets are contacted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a lawful organization to tempt individuals into providing sensitive data such as their personal identifiable information, or the banking and the credit card details, and the passwords. So this is what phishing is. Every day we see in the newspapers and we watch it in the TV news: phishing, the scams on your mobiles, on WhatsApps, everywhere you find such messages. Every bank is every now and then giving you and providing the messages on the mobiles that beware of these phishing scams. Do not share your passwords or OTPs or anything, credit card, debit card details, PIN number. Do not share. Why? Because of this phishing only. So first of all, we need to elaborate what is phishing. Then what exactly is done after getting all these passwords? The information is then used to access important accounts and can result in identity theft and financial loss. So this is the drawback. These are the harmful effects of phishing. Now, quite importantly, suggestions. And this is now new to you. What are the tactics used by these scammers used for phishing? Now, this is what is new to you, and this is why I asked you to relate, understand, and note down, learn them. First is deception phishing. It means that sending out a mass email and trying to convince users to click the link in the message. And the moment that click is done, the information stored in your mobiles or your desktops or your laptops, that is passed on to them, which obviously they can use against you. Next is tab nabbing. Tab nabbing is seeking to impersonate popular websites that have been left unattended for some time and trying to convince users to re-enter their credentials. So they will make fake websites, and in such a way that you will not be able to differentiate between the original and the fake. And assuming it to be original, once you enter your details, all your credentials and all your details, they will be reaching these people. Next type of tactic used for phishing is malware based phishing. What is this? Aimed at small and medium sized businesses, which are SMBs, inserting malware onto a user's computer, and it may be done by email attachment, or if you download any file, that is done in order to gain access and gain information and exploit the vulnerabilities. This is malware based phishing. Another way of phishing is key loggers and screen loggers. They are yet another type of malware that can record a user's keystrokes and activities, sometimes even your entire display. Next one is the search engine phishing. What is this? The phishers create websites with offers and have them indexed methodically within popular search engines, and the moment you click them, because you are getting greedy due to the offers, you get attracted towards them, and the moment you click on these offers, your information can be passed on to them. So honestly speaking, this is a bit scary situation, and no doubt it is that where exactly you find yourself being protected? Nowhere. So you have to be very, very, very cautious, right? And what kind of precautions we need to take? How can we prevent these phishing attacks? Let us try a few points. Number one is use spam filters. Generally, the filters assess the origin of the message and the software which is used to send the message and the appearance of the message in order to decide if it is a spam. This is the first way we can prevent phishing attacks. Another way is to change browser settings. The settings of the browser should only allow reliable websites to open up. The unreliable ones, they should not be permitted by the browser. The third way to prevent phishing scams is to change password on a regular basis, because those websites that require users to enter login information, they may be open to security attacks. So if you have been using your same password again and again and again for longer time, there is every possibility that it may be hacked. So we need to change passwords on a regular basis, and while changing the passwords, we need to be cautious that we should never use the same password for multiple accounts, because if any of one account is being hacked, the possibility is that because of the similarity of passwords, the more accounts, the people who do all these scams, they will try to enter the same password, and if unfortunately you have put in the same passwords for all your accounts, definitely you will be a loser and you will be a victim and target of these phishing attacks. Banks and the financial organizations, they use monitoring systems to prevent phishing, but you need to make sure that you need to do efforts from your own side as well. There are certain provisions in which legal action can be taken against fake websites, and organizations should provide security awareness and training to the employees to recognize the risks. Changes in browsing habits are required to prevent phishing. Fine. So this is all about phishing. Now, one important thing after doing all and after just understanding all these points you have not actually thought about one important thing, that the content is much more than what you require for writing this article. So there will be times when you have to remodel your sentences, you have to cut short, you have to select, just in order to make sure you are not going beyond your prescribed word limit. Clear? So these were a few exercises for article writing, and I'm sure that after going through each and every detail, you are now very well versed with what articles are and how you need to write the articles. But as it is with every writing skill, it also requires a lot of practice. Just by reading 3 or 4 or 5 articles is not sufficient. You need to make sure that you need to read the solved articles wherever you get them. Try to be in a habit to find some sources from where you can get more information about more topics, like this fishing. In fishing, there are so many things, to be very honest, especially when we are talking about the tactics of fishing. Even I was not aware about these key loggers. To be very honest, even I was not aware of this term tab nabbing. I knew what exactly is being conveyed through it, that some popular websites are just impersonated, some fake websites are formed, but this is known as tab nabbing. Even I'm reading it for the first time, right? So these technical terms, because I'm an English teacher and this is not basically an English literal word, this term is specifically used for this particular process. So if I am learning 2 new things, obviously I can relate that most of you must have got a lot many new details about this fishing which you never knew earlier. So when we read certain topics from various other books and other sources, we get to know about various things. It enhances our vocabulary also, our thought also, and our concepts also about any particular different points. So make it a habit that every now and then, every week, go through 3 or 4 articles. You just have to read them, and after reading them, just try to reproduce, just try to revise on your own what exactly you studied in this topic. Because it's not possible to learn all these things related to all the topics on which all the possible articles can come. It's not possible. It is only that you have got a vague information that if these kind of topic they come in the exam, you are not totally blank about them. You have certain things in mind. You read 10 things, but definitely if you have read them properly and thoroughly, you will remember 3 or 4, minimum 3 or 4 you will remember. And with those, at least you are in a position to make a base and then to elaborate those thoughts and be able to write something at least about that particular topic. This is what is required by you people, and that is only how you will be able to attempt all the writing skills. Maybe it is article or any speech, anything of this kind. You need to read and read more. The more you read, the better you are going to become. But it should not be merely just reading. Casual reading, you will not be able to retain anything in your mind. So make sure whenever you read something, after reading, just try to reproduce it. Just try to explain it to yourself what you have read. This way, our brain will be able to retain a lot of the information about that topic. Clear to all? So this is all about article writing. So it's time to wind up the class. Try to practice the articles. And in the next class, we'll be talking about a new subject. Till then, enjoy yourself, guys. Take care of your health. And goodbye, everyone.